Sleep, my child, and peace attend thee all through the night.
I will use strength to protect you all through the night.
Soft the drowsy hours are creeping, hill and vale in slumber sleeping.
I, my loving vigil keeping all through the night.
While the moon her watch is keeping all through the night.
While the weary world is sleeping all through the night.
Over thy spirit gently stealing, visions of delight revealing.
Breathes the pure and holy feeling all through the night.
Deep the silence round us spreading all through the night.
Dark the path that we are treading all through the night.
Still the coming day discerning by the hope within us burning.
To the dawn our footsteps turning all through the night.
Star of faith, the dark adorning all through the night.
Leads us fearless towards the morning all through the night.
Though our hearts be wrapped in sorrow, from the home of dawn we borrow.
Promise of a glad tomorrow all through the night. Good morning and welcome. If you have been with us before just once or several times, or you regularly attend services, welcome again this morning. And if you are tuning in for the first time, a very special welcome to you. My name is Myra Aaronson, and I am one of 8 worship associates who work with our interim minister, the Reverend Susan Suchocki Brown, our director of music ministry, Joanne Connolly, and our musicians, our director of Lifespan Ministries, Kirsten Hunter, who works with Jen Del Deo to bring us heartwarming time for all ages stories, and who also serves as our video producer, working with our church administrator, Jen Layden, to do the magic of weaving together all the component MP3s and MP4s and movies and PNGs and JPEGs and who knows what else to create this YouTube video that you're watching now. I don't think any of us knew any of these terms or how to do any of this 1 year ago. It's been quite an adventure.
It certainly has been an adventure. I'm the Reverend Susan Suchocki Brown. I'm glad that you could join us this morning. And we promise that every worship service that you come to, you are held in love and compassion, support, and in this community. Thank you for joining us this morning on our adventure.
Reverend Susan will be with us for some components of the service today, but our guest in the pulpit is Myra Banach. Mary has been coming to South Church for over 20 years. She's a recently retired professor of social work at University of New Hampshire, a social justice associate here, involved in small group ministries, and a member of South Church Hope. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Myra. And I have to say thank you for asking me to do this, because I don't know that I ever would have if you hadn't asked. And thank you for all of your back technical assistance. My sermon today is connected to commitment, and particularly to the commitment a parent of a child who is differently abled has to have. I've had lots of support and help for making this possible today. First of all, to the folk group, It's my joy to sing with them, and a particular shout out to Pam Felber, who connected me with Joni Calum, who Joanne will tell you more about, our guest musician for today. I had help with editing from my friend Joanne Clark, who is a poet. And my final big thanks is to my son, Alexander, without whom this story would not have been possible, and who gave me a thumbs up to share it.
Thank you, Mary. Joanne, can you tell us about today's music, please?
Yes, we're so happy to have South Church folk with us this Sunday, and also a special guest musician, Joni Calum, invited by South Church folk. Joni is an inclusion advocate and a workshop presenter for people with invisible disabilities. She will be singing her song, Speaking Legalese, which was written when Joni's son, who is differently abled, was in high school, and she had to learn all the acronyms that went along with that, and so, hence, Speaking Legalese. All the other music will also reflect commitment, persistence, and unconditional love. Enjoy the service.
Thank you, Joanne. I'm sure it will be fabulous as usual. Time for All Ages story will be told today by Jen Gildeo. And stick around after the service for social hour. Take a moment after the postlude to get your cup of coffee or tea, and then join us in the Zoom room. The link to the social hour is in the email you received last night or this morning, and on the Members and Friends Facebook page. And now for announcements, which will be followed by the invocation. Enjoy the service.
In any given year, up to 20 members step down following the completion of their 2-year terms with our beloved associate programs. These programs support our minister and congregation with worship, fellowship, pastoral care, learning, and social justice issues. If you're still thinking of stepping up to help with these phenomenal programs, there are still opportunities. Please be in touch with Shared Ministry soon at sharedministry@southchurch-uu.org. The Learning Associates invite you to a time of connection and reflection on the experiences and challenges of this past year during Social Hour next Sunday, March 28th. All are welcome to join immediately after worship. We hope that you will be able to set aside this time and join us for a small group discussion. The Social Hour link can always be found in your Sunday morning email and at the end of each worship service. The South Church Spiritual Book Group, in partnership with the Social Justice Associates, is hosting a book discussion of How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi on Wednesday, April 14th at 7 p.m. All are welcome. Please contact southchurchbookgroup@gmail.com for the Zoom link. And stop by the South Church Portico today and again next Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. to purchase a bloom in the Pocket Garden Tour ticket brochure. Along with your name, your listing can include your business name or the name of someone you would like to honor. We are accepting cash, checks, and credit cards, and blooms are $25.
It's almost Easter, and in the past, Easter's been a really fun time at South Church. We've had Easter egg hunts, and it's just felt like a really festive day. So I wanted to tell you about 2 things that we are doing this year since we can't do church in person. One is we're participating in the UU virtual Easter egg hunt, which will begin on Saturday, April 3rd. And the way that works is you'll get a link to the first church's website, and you have to find an Easter egg on their website. When you find it, you click it, and it will take you to the webpage of another church, UU Church, and you have to find their Easter egg, and it'll continue on and on for over 60 churches, and one of them will be South Church. So that's one activity. And the other I want to tell you about is on Saturday, March 27th from 10 a.m. to 11:30. We'll have a family outing day at the Urban Forestry Center, which is at 45 Elwyn Road in Portsmouth. And we'll play and socialize and explore, and there will be a mystery Easter activity that I won't tell you the details now. But I hope that we see you at one or both of those events.
Good morning. Happy Sunday, everyone. My name is Emily Bolton Lusenhop, and this is my testimonial. To belong requires a space where others are ready to welcome you. To belong, I have learned, also requires some commitment on the part of the belonger. Today, I would like to share with you a little bit about how I came to belong at South Church and the journey that led me to becoming a fellowship associate, in the hopes that it may inspire you to join us. Just a couple of years ago, following a few life-changing events, I found myself homeless, alternating between friends' couches and the bed I'd so carefully made in the back of my borrowed minivan. This went on for months, and I fell into a very dark place. I was alone without the basics I needed, and I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. That feeling of not belonging was almost too much to cope with. Now, there's a lot more of my story to share for another day, but let's fast forward to September 2019. Not that long ago, the first time I set foot into South Church. As I got ready to visit a place I had only read about online, I felt excited but nervous to try something new. I desperately needed something to make my world better. I climbed those beautiful front steps to church on that crisp fall day and was greeted by two fellowship associates who welcomed me with smiles. As I entered South Church, I realized I had just discovered that sense of belonging that I was so desperately looking for. I discovered belonging when Cathy and Marty opened up those beautiful sanctuary doors and said welcome. I discovered belonging when a stranger in the pew offered me a tissue as I sat listening to Jen sing along the beautiful voices in the choir. I found belonging with Kirsten, who at that first service I attended, turned and said hello without even knowing me. I found belonging in a place I had never expected to, church. The more I felt belonging, the more I wanted to keep that feeling in my heart forever. I started to attend coffee hour. I attended the Journey to Membership class, and I joined a circle supper dinner hosted by the most gracious Jim and Carlo. My sense of belonging grew, and so did my spirit. I gained strength, felt cared about, and I started to make my comeback. And oh, how I've made my comeback. But that too is a story for another day. As time went on, I learned about the many volunteers at South Church and was told about the Fellowship Associates, the group who was charged with organizing the activities that made me feel such a sense of belonging in the first place. I also learned that to belong takes commitment on the part of the belonger, and to commit requires action. And so, wanting to deepen my commitment, I took a leap this past year and signed up to be a Fellowship Associate. Since joining the FAs, I've been able to welcome other newcomers virtually. I have helped to host the Journey to Membership classes, and I even got to spend time with the awesome youth of RE as they completed one of their service projects. And it was pure joy to help organize the folks who sent love and Valentines as the part of the first ever South Church Love Letters project. Imagining all that love floating around in the mail gave me hope that maybe, even during a pandemic, we're still continuing to cultivate a sense of belonging and commitment to one another. Because of my involvement with the Fellowship Associates, along with small group ministry and coming of age, I am here healthier and better than I have been in such a long time. And I have you all to thank for that. And to Cathy, Marty, Jen, Jim, Carlo, Kirsten, Jen D, Reverend Susan, my fellow small group friends and FAs, thank you. You all help me belong, and in return I commit to you and to everyone in this beloved community. In closing, I'm here to ask you today, will you please consider strengthening your commitment to this amazing place as well? Will you join me in creating a sense of belonging for all that come to South Church? Will you join me as a Fellowship Associate this upcoming term? We would love to welcome you. I belong, you belong, and we belong together.
Oh, you can be anybody you want to be. You can love whomever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know that I will love you still. You can live by yourself, You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. There are girls who grow up strong and bold. There are boys quiet and kind. Some race on ahead, some follow behind, some go in their own way and time. Some women love women, some men love men, some have children, some never do. You can dream all the day, never reaching the end of everything that's possible for you. Oh, you can be anybody you want to be. You can love whomever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads and know that I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done.
In The Courage to Create, Rollo May says this: the acorn becomes an oak by means of automatic growth. No commitment is necessary. People, however, choose to make commitments. And in my view, it isn't what we say we'll do that matters. Commitment is about actions, not words. I, for example, made a commitment to myself to improve my French during the pandemic. But apparently, I was more committed to sleeping late and researching recipes and going for hikes and frankly doing nothing for hours on end. I didn't fulfill that commitment, but nobody got hurt. There are other commitments that, if ignored, can cause harm. I say that I am committed to racial justice, but the reality is that I rarely do anything to move that agenda forward. And I'm not proud of that. And I struggle to figure out what's in my way. The image of ocean waves as a metaphor for commitment helps me. With apologies to the scientists out there if this is not correct, each wave is a product of the geology of the ocean floor, of the wind, of the physical laws of mass, energy, and momentum. Each wave is on a path. Its destination is the shore. Let's call that a commitment. And then it encounters sandbars and islands and other obstacles that change the dynamics. It intersects waves coming from other directions. They crash and they come out of the collision changed and on a different path. In a similar way, our commitments collide, compete, impact each other. We get tossed by the waves, exhausted, and the result can be chaos, burnout, and disappointment. I know that I am not a strong enough swimmer to be out in the ocean by myself. If I could have a life jacket or even a swim noodle, I would do better. In many ways, you, this community, serves as my swim noodle. So I think the challenge is, how can we each help each other reach the shore of our commitments? Now is the time we light our chalice, and I invite you to light a candle at home along with Reverend Susan in the sanctuary to these words from the Reverend Suzelle Lynch. Each time we light the chalice, we renew our commitment to our Unitarian Universalist faith. With the spark of a match, we make it new again, as fresh and surprising as the first day we encountered this spiritual community and realized we were home.
Now please join me in reciting our mission statement, which is displayed on your screen. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community.
Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire and have not love, my words are vain, a sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give and striving so my love profess, but not be give by love within, the prophet soon turns strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed.
Good morning. I hope you're having a really good day so far. Our theme this month is commitment. We are committed to taking care of each other. And one part of that means doing our best to make this a place that is welcoming, inclusive, and equitable for all people. Because we know that every person has a unique set of gifts that contributes to us being a diverse and beautiful group. Now, there's still plenty of room for us to improve on this because there are just so many ways that we can be different from each other. Bodies and brains can work in lots of kinds of ways, and it's important for us to learn about and understand different disabilities and what everybody needs to be a full member of our community. It takes a lot of listening, asking, learning, and often changing the way we do things. Kirsten sent us a nice book this morning that is about just a few different ways that bodies and brains can work. It's by Sonia Sotomayor, who's a U.S. Supreme Court Justice. I hope you enjoy it. I hope to see you soon, and I'm sending you lots and lots of love. Just Ask. Be Different, Be Brave, Be You, by Sonia Sotomayor, and illustrated by Rafael Lopez. Hi, I'm Sonia. My friends and I are planting a garden. Gardens are magical places. Thousands of plants bloom together, but every flower, every berry, and every leaf is different. Each has a different smell, different color, different shape, and different purpose. Some flowers need lots of sunlight. Others thrive in the shade. Some have to be trimmed regularly, while others are better off left alone. Some trees and flowers are more fragile, and others are more hardy. Kids are all different too. Some of us are in a hurry and others take more time. Some of us seem shy and quiet while others are chatty and loud. Some of our differences are easy to spot. Others take longer to notice. Each of us grows in our own way, so if you're curious about other kids, just ask. Not everyone is comfortable answering questions about themselves, but I don't mind. What am I doing? Several times a day, I prick my finger to measure the sugar in my blood, and I give myself shots of medicine called insulin. I do this because I have diabetes and my body doesn't make insulin naturally like other people's. Even though this can sometimes hurt, I gather all of my courage to do it to be healthy. Do you ever need to take medicine to be healthy? I do. My name is Raphael, and I have asthma, which means I sometimes have trouble breathing. When that happens, I take a break and use an inhaler with medicine to make breathing easier. Quiet time helps me slow down and catch my breath. My inhaler is like a tool to help my body. Do you use a tool to help your body? I'm Anthony, and I use a wheelchair to get around. Even though I can't run with my legs, I can go super fast. How do you get from place to place? My name is Madison, and my guide dog Lucky helps me get places safely because I'm blind. My friend Arturo is blind too. He uses a cane to get around. Even though we can't see, we strengthen our other senses and notice lots of details others may miss. We can hear with our ears, smell with our noses, and feel with our hands. How do you use your senses? I'm VJ. I learn about the world differently because I can see, but I can't hear. I'm deaf. Most of the time, I communicate with people using my face and hands through sign language. It's cool to know another language. I also love reading and writing. What about you? I'm Bianca, and I have dyslexia, so I have to work really hard and take my time when I'm reading and writing words. Sometimes I use computer programs to help me. I love learning by doing things. My imagination is full of ideas, and I'm very good at making art from the pictures I see in my mind. Are you really good at something? I'm great at dinosaurs. I know all about them. I'm Jordan, and I have autism. Organizing and counting all my toy dinosaurs again and again makes me feel calm. My classmate Tiana also has autism, but it's different for her. She doesn't talk, but I like to talk. I especially like to talk about dinosaurs. What do you like to talk about? For me, listening comes more easily than talking, and I'm a really good listener. My name is An, and I speak with a stutter, so I sometimes repeat a word or get stuck when I try to say it. It may take me a little longer to express myself, and sometimes I'm too shy to talk, but I understand everything that's going on. Do you ever wonder if people understand you? I do. My name is Julia. Sometimes I wiggle or make sounds that I can't control because I have Tourette's syndrome. People may look at me funny because they think I'm not paying attention or just acting out, but it's not true. I am listening. I don't always like having to explain. It frustrates me, but it helps when I tell people that it's just what my body does. Do you ever feel frustrated? My name is Manuel, and I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It is also called ADHD. I can get frustrated when I really feel the need to move around, even though I'm supposed to sit still. When my teachers and friends are patient with me, if I forget something or get distracted, I can get myself back on track. What's helpful to you? I'm Nolan. It's helpful to me when the food I eat has a clear label that says it is nut-free because I am allergic to nuts. They can make me so sick that I would have to go to the hospital if I ate any, even by accident. So I always tell people about my allergy and ask if any food has nut ingredients. Speaking up keeps me healthy. How do you use your voice? I love to sing and I love to talk. I love to make new friends and be included. I am Grace. I was born with Down syndrome. Kids like me with Down syndrome have an extra building block called a chromosome in our bodies. But we are all different from each other too. I can do almost anything any other kid can do, though learning new things can take some time. One way I learn is to ask questions. What helps you learn? It's me, Sonia, again. I ask questions too. When something seems different or new, I just ask my parents or my teachers, and they help me to understand, especially if my friends don't feel ready to explain. This is what I've learned. Imagine if all of the plants in this garden were exactly the same. Like, what if we could only grow peas? That would mean no strawberries or cucumbers or carrots. It might also mean no trees or roses or sunflowers. Just like in our garden, all the ways we are different make our neighborhood and our whole world really more interesting and fun. And just like all of these plants, each of us has unique powers to share with the world and make it more interesting and richer. What will you do with your powers?
It's been more than a year since the pandemic changed our lives. We have experienced losses of many kinds. Yet as a community, we have shown our commitment to each other time and time again. So let us together now give what each can to sustain the life and work of this congregation. This month, the collection will be shared with Women Aid of Portsmouth, which provides much needed short-term financial assistance to our neighbors of all genders who have nowhere else to turn. In the words of the Reverend Caleb Parker, may we give in love and in hope. You can do this online via the donate button on our website or send a check in the mail to our office at 73 Court Street in Portsmouth. Details are on your screen.
Who knew when you were born I'd be learning legalese? Who knew that we'd be versed in ETRs and IEPs? Who knew about APE, ASD, and SPD? Who knew your schooling would bring me to my knees? Teacher, you've no clue what goes on in our house each night. My kid looks at the homework and collapses in fright. This simple page assignment blows out every fuse. It's the nightly meeting with what his brain can't do. Who knew when you were born we'd be learning legalese? Who knew that we'd be versed in ITPs and LREs? Who knew about BIP, CAC, and SCD? Who knew your schooling would bring me to my knees? School's a place for learning, but for some the curve is steep. When your insides are hurting, your brain can't make the leap. The straight paths of teaching don't work for everyone. Some learn in circles, some have to jump and run. Before you were born, I was reading all the books. Thought you'd walk that same path that I myself took. Know that you will reach your goals and beyond. It's just a different road that you have to walk on. Child, please know your brain will grow and change. Though something's hard right now, it won't always be that way. Teacher, please be patient. They can understand, but they're living in pain and they need your helping hand. Who knew when you were born I'd be learning legalese? Who knew that we'd be versed in IEEs and SLDs? Who knew about OCD, ODD, and ADD? Who knew your schooling would bring me to my knees?
Oh, we give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks
For this precious day.
for this precious day. We're all gathered here.
For all gathered here.
those far away.
And those far away.
For this time we share.
For this time we share.
With love and care.
With love and care.
Oh, we give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
For this precious day.
Good morning. Let's join together in a moment of prayerful reflection. Grateful for the changing and shifting of the seasons. I await spring. When I walk from the downtown area from Court Street over to the church, I see snowdrops peeking their heads through, and I see crocus, and I see little heads of daffodils coming about, and my heart is lifted knowing that spring is soon on its way. A time of renewal, a time of welcoming warm mornings and later light evenings, walks when my body doesn't tense up because it's chilled, times of sitting outside and catching the rays of the sun and hearing birds. Fills my heart and my spirit with great feelings of renewal and revival, and I'm ever so grateful for that opportunity. And I know that when we come here into this worship space and into this prayer time, sometimes we hold things tight in our body. We have concerns, we have loved ones who ail, we ourselves have struggles and sorrows. And this time just is a time for a little revival for you, of a time for you to hold in your heart, and also for you to express on the chat any concerns, any joys that you have, knowing that we hear you, we see you, we care for you. May your heart be buoyed and lifted by this springtime. Please take a moment to write in the chat line as you center into silence, center into a sense of peace. Blessings upon you. Be well, be safe. May it be so.
As the parent of a child who is differently abled, I have held fast to some essential words of advice from a fellow social worker, Brene Brown. She advises mothers to talk to yourself like you talk to someone you love. Although I haven't always heeded these words, my hope is that my own motherhood story may inspire anyone parenting a differently abled child to talk to themselves more lovingly. Commitment, our theme for the month, is also a parenting essential, whether or not one's child is differently abled. And yet, for parents like me, whose child is also transgender, more about that later, commitment takes many forms. Merriam-Webster defines it as something pledged or the state of being emotionally impelled, which captures well my own sense of the term. For the commitment I have come to know is both a pledge and an emotional force. In considering my own journey as a parent, commitment through challenging times, combined with persistence and unconditional love, has been my guiding light. My journey into parenthood was less than traditional. I found myself in my 40s, partnerless, but with the desire and determination to be a mother. So I explored the possibilities of adoption. Practical considerations and my own Eastern European ancestry pointed me toward Russia. Adoption is not for the faint of heart, and adopting in a foreign country less so. Nonetheless, after over a year of applications and receiving the call from the agency, I traveled with my parents to St. Petersburg to bring home my 7-month-old. The moment Tasha was placed in my arms, we looked into each other's eyes and both broke into wide grins. It was amazing. We were meant to be together, and my heart opened in a way I have never known. The same night I first held my baby, I got food poisoning. I can honestly recommend not eating meat in Russia or anywhere that appears to have a green sheen to it. My lovely mother initially thought that I was just nervous. Without going into details, she soon realized that I was very, very sick. I was so sick, in fact, that I didn't register who it was that she brought into our hotel room. But my mother, who had never traveled to another country and who spoke no Russian, disappeared and came back with the doctor. When I think of this incident, I am struck by my mother's commitment, persistence, and love. My mother referred to herself as a practicing SSM. Before you get the wrong idea, to her, this meant self-sacrificing mother. When her children were in need, she thought only of them. Although my mother and I disagreed on many points, her example of unconditional love combined with persistence and commitment remains my gold standard. Through infancy and toddlerhood, Tasha appeared to be moving through developmental stages, but with delays. I expected gaps based on fraught birth circumstances and an orphanage environment far less than ideal. I found services which I hoped would counteract the impediments I'd anticipated. However, increasingly, worries arose about the extent of delays, which included problems with walking and with engaging with peers. Eventually, the preschool they were in strongly suggested an evaluation. The first of many experts I sought out diagnosed a nonverbal learning disability. The delays in walking and balance pointed to long-term challenges with coordination. The difficulties in negotiating social interactions meant friendships would be hampered. With that new understanding, I had to absorb the hard fact that my child's physical and social challenges were not merely temporary setbacks. So I did what any parent does when hearing such a diagnosis. I cried. A grief that includes denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance is familiar to parents of differently able children. And it's a grief that can recur and emerge unexpectedly throughout the phases and transitions of our children's lives. For instance, an unexpressed sorrow can surface at the same time I celebrate with a friend over an accomplishment of his typically developing child, a scored goal, college acceptance letters. So it is that in feeling the loss of missed experiences such as these, I ultimately am letting go of expectations and hopes that I didn't realize I'd had. Just to explain a bit, a nonverbal learning disability is thought to be associated with the white matter of our brains. The disability makes anything hard that involves reading nonverbal cues, being organized, or maintaining balance. It makes math impossible. Figuring out subtleties in communication and participating in sports are very, very difficult. Special education teachers, occupational therapists, speech-language therapists, nutritional consultants, neurodevelopmental psychologists, physical therapists, and various other professionals became part of our world. Some of these folks were one-off encounters. Some were year-long connections. Others were far lengthier relationships. Learning the language of the disability world was important to becoming an advocate. This language learning continues as we move into securing other support systems for young adults. Joni Kalem captured this challenge so perfectly in her song, Learning Legalese. A more recent part of my parenting journey entails having a child who is transgender. I adopted Tasha, who became Jason, and has now chosen Alexander as his name. The amazing part about parenting a child who is differently abled and transgender is how much you are able to learn and grow. Hard-won learning is also learning worth celebrating. I have a child who is open-hearted, accepting, and who works very hard to achieve continual steps towards independence. He has a great sense of humor, has insights into his strengths and challenges, and possesses an amazing memory and a love of country music. Confidentially, I have to tell you that we do not share the love of country music, but as a good mother, I have taken Alexander to Nashville and to many local country music concerts. Some of the concerts were okay. I do like Nashville. My child and I have had parallel experiences in our journey together. We have both suffered fortune's slings and arrows. Alexander has had to deal with peers who bullied him or who did not include him. Invitations to parties and gatherings with peers became less frequent. Parents of children differently abled experience being bullied in different ways. I have dealt with isolation, well-meaning but misguided advice, not so well-meaning questions and second-guessing. It's searing to hear a teacher suggest that maybe a field trip might not be a good idea since it might be too challenging. It's often the case that inclusion in education is more of a noble idea than true practice. I have had to manage my own self-doubt and guilt over what I did not know. I have also had to manage my own fear of the future without imposing it in any way on my child. Fears continue about people taking advantage or hurting him because he does not read social cues well. Understanding when someone might be kidding and not being intentionally mean can be confusing. It has meant thinking about situations and being explicit and concrete about harmful possibilities in discussions with him. Alexander has found many friends who accept him for who he is. I feel blessed to have friends and a community that have been a lifeline. Friends who have not said, "Wow, you must be a saint," but "Wow, that must have been tough," or "Whew, that was a lot of work." Friends who have stepped up to be with Alexander so I could take a trip. I am so, so grateful. Commitment to parenting a differently abled child is needed at many levels. Commitment to protecting my child from other children and adults who may actually be mean. Commitment to finding the right resources and services to help him be the best he can be. Commitment to myself to stay healthy and find the financial and emotional support needed to care for a child differently abled. Commitment sometimes to just showing up and trusting that showing up may be all that is available at that moment, and it has to be enough. Persistence is needed at the same time. Persistence in learning everything possible about the disability, attending multiple workshops on NLT, reading books on brain development, social thinking, and educational law. Persistence to continually finesse the delicate balance between knowing when to support your child and knowing when to push a bit. Persistence always with educators, helpers, service providers, and family members to help inform them, all the while maintaining alliances so my son could be understood and get what he needs. No mean feat. Persistence also to continually work on patience, acceptance, and maintaining hope and a sense of humor. Patience when hearing the same story for who knows how many times, because those with NLD are considerable repeaters. Acceptance for who my child is right now without any comparison to anybody else, and hope for continued growth and for people who will be there for him when I cannot. But key to this triad is unconditional love. Without love, commitment and persistence can be quite misguided. We have certainly seen lots of examples of the destruction that commitment and persistence without love can engender. Love makes the tribulations that are part of this journey a spiritual one. Maya Angelou said, "Love recognizes no barriers. It jumps hurdles, leaps fences, penetrates walls to arrive at its destination, full of hope." The opening in my heart when my son and I first saw one another continues to be part of that hopeful anchor and guide. Commitment paired with persistence and unconditional love is a formidable combination. Each of these components need both expansion and appreciation to advance healthy relationships and on a spiritual journey. And in times of challenge, these components always need to be combined with talking to yourself with love. May it be so.
Love will guide us, Peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
This morning, we have been so grateful to have so many people contribute to this worship service with worship associates and music and choir, and most of all, Mary sharing a story of love and hope, of an ability to look at things in new ways. All of us have an opportunity to go forth and live our UU values out in the larger world. Each and every one of us are called to be beacons of hope, to stand for transformation, to stand with and be with one another. May we go forward from here to continue our journey as UUs in a world that is calling us forth. Go in peace, go in love. Amen.
May we find stillness for the days we walk in pain. May we find acceptance of all that comes our way. May we find welcome when we stretch out our hands. May we find wisdom as we walk this land. Wishes for the hard times, prayers for these days. May we all forever grow stronger on our way. And when it's stormy and we can't find the road, may we hear that still small voice calling us home. And when there is a flood, dove goes out a-searching, dove goes out a-searching for a tree. So fly away, my dove, fly into the sunlight, fly away, my dove, and be free. May we find stillness for the days we walk in pain. May we find acceptance of all that comes our way. May we find forgiveness for the things we should not do. May we find simplicity for the times we are confused. Wishes for the hard times, prayers for these days. May we all forever grow stronger on our way. And when the sky is dark and the sun has set and gone,